it's good to be home. You know, if heaven doesn't have Ovaltine, then I will refuse to remain there. That and Bovril. Oh, and Seville marmalade. Thin cut naturally. Oh, but not Marmite. Oh, food of Satan, that stuff. And anchovies. Oh, perverts. Well, must check the TV guide and then set my alarm before bed. Not much of a sleep tonight. Alistair Sim is on at 6 a.m. in Scrooge. I don't know what I'd do if they ever miss putting it on. No matter what time of the day or night, I'm there. The start of the festive season for me. Every year. You know, the proper version from 1951. Gloomy. But now and again uplifting. Bit like Rochdale. I said to Mary P. at the WI, I'm not surprised that people died early in those days. The sanitation was dreadful, and they all appeared to have bad teeth. And she says, yes, but they're just actors, Stella. And I said, but that's the point, Mary. Actors have dreadful dental health. Have you ever watched EastEnders? I always feel that black and white films have something about them. Traditional, appropriate, a remembrance of one's roots, of whom we are, of what was, of good times and who we shared them with. I take the wrong one last year. Dreadful. Settled down to watch it and was faced with a Muppet Christmas Carol. Ruined the whole day for me. Pigs in blankets accompanied by Miss Piggy was an altogether unholy juxtaposition. That being said, I can't face large meals these days. The volume, it's all too rich for an older palate. Just enough gravy to bring the turkey to life is more than adequate. Doesn't need to be swimming to an island of mashed potato for refuge. Festive fowl is not everyone's fancy, but it's a must for me. Oh, and thank the Lord for Auntie Bessie and her croquettes is what I say. And her Yorkshires. It's not worth buying fresh. Can't abide waste. I plate one up for Catherine, just in case. Just in case. You know, she's passing on her way to Switzerland. But she never is. I never waste it. Saves cooking on Boxing Day. Oh, reminds me, I haven't checked the answering machine.
You have no messages.
No, looks like I haven't missed any calls. Messages. I always check, you know, for calls. Every half hour sometimes. Looks like there haven't been any. Not that I trust these things. Number of times Catherine says she's called and it hasn't connected. So I've queried it with the GPO, or whatever they call themselves these days. I've had them out so many times. They swear blind the line is in order. It's never been the same since they became a PLC. I had shares in them for a while, but I got rid. I refused to profit out of the inefficiency of others. Packed in church tonight, as I anticipated. When I got there, the only spare seat in the place was mine, and the one next to it. But it was lovely, so festive. The manger, all the candles, the tree, tastefully decorated, the organ, the carols, the lessons, the smell of food from the Rose of Lahore restaurant across the road. And then faintly in the background, drifting in on the night air, the sound of the folk in the Bull's Head joining in with Cliff Richard and mistletoe and wine. But my word, some of the congregation, no shame, Christmas jumpers in church, flashing reindeers, elf hats, and I saw less lycra when we went to see the musical Cats. And the makeup was on a par. There was a young woman sat next to me who had lips like a guppy fish. I swear if you'd licked her face, you could have stuck her to a window. Children with toys, electronic ones which made noises. Buzz Lightyear accompanied us down the aisle for communion, and people using the mobile phones. Yeah, and a young girl did a selfie with the vicar during the service. But I guess we should just be thankful that they were there. All with their families, their loved ones. Some probably didn't know why they went, but somehow felt the need to. Compelled by tradition, perhaps. A need to respect something in their past, honouring the memory and the ritual of relatives. Funny. Doing something others have always done, just because of that, and yet clearly finding a comfort, a completeness in a thing that they don't entirely understand or believe in. And after all, I thought about it and said to him, complained about him, Jason, the young vicar. It was amazing. Because as he spoke, I noticed something. Silence. Worshippers who'd spent a lifetime there, whispering and chatting in the background throughout, were quiet too. Not because they were indoctrinated to be. I guess because they found a connection with a man young enough to be their grandchild, talking about the past with the wisdom of today. The regulars came out of some odd obligation, but were silent because they wanted to be. I looked at them, looked around, and they weren't just quiet because of the moment, the service. They were listening. His words, his manner, his age. The language he used was theirs, not of some dusty old book. He spoke of real things, real problems, real hopes, their hopes, my hopes. He took the Bethlehem of my imagination and all that it stood for and placed it in front of me. He painted a picture in that church, which was as real as I am now. And I didn't feel old. I didn't feel young, ancient or modern. I felt something more. I felt I belonged. I felt alive. I wasn't alone. And when I got back here, I sat on my own in the dark. I'd never done that before. And it dawned on me that I still didn't feel on my own. Something about that evening had got me thinking. Still am. About me. All of this. I sat here like I do for ages, staring at these bloody photographs. All these years I'd told myself, fooled myself, that I'd bought them because I liked antique silver frames, that I was a collector. Rubbish. I hadn't bought any of them for the frames. It was the old pictures in them. Other people's pictures. That's the real reason I bought them. I'd bought someone else's memories. Relatives, because I didn't have any of my own. I didn't know these people, but I told people who came to visit that they were my family. I sat here many a night and made up lives for them, names for them, put me in them. I'd spent a lifetime listening to my girlfriends as they pored over their own pictures and their own memories, and I was embarrassed. And it all came to a head tonight, in a beautiful way, surrounded by people making real memories. Jason making those lives, those new memories mean so much for them all. When I left church tonight, young Jason came up to me and thanked me for taking the time to tell him what I thought. He thanked me. And then he hugged me. And it suddenly made me think I couldn't remember the last time someone had done that. Is this what making memories actually feels like? And I turned around and Mr. Waters from next door was stood there, and he smiled and said, "Stella, may I hug you?" And I looked at him and I said, "No, bugger off." And I laughed. Like, I can't remember that I'd done in years. And so did he. And so did Jason. And then he told me I shouldn't swear in church. So I told him to bugger off. And we all laughed again. And Jason said, "I won't forget tonight, Inora. You've made it very special for me." Me. And I said, "Neither will I." Ditto. He brought me home, Mr. Waters. Well, he shared me taxi and Stuart brought us home. And going by the cost of the return trip, he again went via bloody Galilee. I've asked Mr. Waters if he's got any copies of photos I can have that he's taken of the birds in the garden. He said he's got lots, so I've asked him to pick the best, his favourite ones. You see, I want to replace all of these pictures. About time, I think. Pictures of my life, my world. And I've telephoned and left a message for Catherine too. Asked her to send me a photo of herself. Said I've got just the frame for it now. Best get to bed. Scrooge is on telly in 5 hours. Just enough time, I think, to get to Christmas Day service afterwards. I never miss, even though I've been the night before. It's my routine. Not church, but what I do afterwards. You see, I make a point of walking around the graveyard. I do it every Sunday. I've discovered 52 graves there that have no headstone or writing you can read any longer that says anything about them. There's even one with just a homemade cross. It looks like it's been made with old metal tubing from thrown-out furniture. No name. It would be easy to think it's insulting, but I found it quite touching. The effort that someone would want to do that. 52 forgotten lives. That's one for every Sunday for me to visit. Just for a moment. To let them, know that, well, like being in church, really. Same people in the same places. I've sat in that place, in that pew, longer than some of those people have been buried. And I'm none the better off for it, either. And that suddenly hit me last night at church. And then I got home and sat here staring at photos of more dead people that I don't know. So I've decided it's time to find time to spend time with the living. Make genuine memories. Never too late, that's what Jason said last night. Never too late to find your story in the Christmas story and make it happen. Stuart says he's working today, so he'll come and get me for the 11 o'clock service. I told him to get me at 10:50 a.m. and not a minute sooner. He looked at me like I'd gone mad. He said, "But that's only 10 minutes before kick-off. What's up with you?" I said, "Nothing. We'll be there on time. Traffic around Galilee is usually fine in late morning." I laughed, and he looked at me right queer, he did. He asked me if I was feeling okay. Cheeky bugger. I said I felt great. Champion, actually. And I gave him £20 for Christmas and told him to put it towards a new watch. And I've also decided that when I get to church this morning, I'll sit somewhere else. Let someone else part themselves on Mr. Ormiston's memory. I've kept him warm for 44 years. Maybe give the back pew a go. I might even stand yet. Give that famed Constitution a run for its money. Bloody rebel. And on the way home, I'm going to get Stuart to stop off and I'll call in and see Mr. Hussain at the corner shop. I'll extend the greetings of the season to him and then take advantage of him being open on Christmas Day and to check if he sells warnings out of a car. Soul of discretion, Mr. Hussain. Just like, well, perhaps not. And I think I'll take the opportunity to stock up on Blue Nun. Now, as I've decided, I'm going to invite the neighbours in for New Year's Eve. Get me? You never know. Might even put a card in the co-op window.
Hello. Your call can't be taken at the moment, so please leave your message after the tone.
Hello, Auntie Stella. You there? Oh, thought you'd still be up. Sorry, we do keep missing each other, don't we? I'm sorry to call back so late. Got your message? A surprise? I'll see you tomorrow afternoon for Christmas dinner, if the invitation still stands. Get me? I sound like Ebenezer Scrooge speaking to his nephew, don't I? I thought that instead of me bringing a picture, let's take some, shall we? I'm sure we can do better than those old ones you have. I know this is unexpected, but it's just... Auntie Stella, I'm just fed up of being on my own. I miss you. I'm sorry, I can't say this on here now, but just to say I love you. I really do. Sorry, I don't say it enough, or ever. Anyhow, see you later. Oh, and please say you'll give me an update on Mr. Meringue.
You have been listening to Ancient and Modern by Martin Paul Roche. Stella was performed by Mandy Mallinson. Catherine was Tracy Rontry. The play was recorded and engineered by Angela Kemp. This was a New to You Theatre production.